Let's do it. Recording. Here we go. Okay, so bass drum tuning. Got my bass drum here. I'm not gonna mute you guys this time because there's only two of you, so not gonna be a huge deal. There's not like 7 people like last time, so cool. So got my bass drum here. We'll start with the batter head. I've got it loosened up already. If you're ever like changing your bass drum heads, just a quick tip to save some time. Leave the claws on the hoop, and then when you take it off, just leave all of the claws on the hoop like that, and then I'll usually wipe down like the inside of it, kind of like with the snare drum again. Just get like you want to get like any residual like stick dust. Some of them might fall off, but I try to avoid it just because it can be kind of tedious to like take them off and put them back on. And I'm always trying to I'm trying to be thorough, but at the same time I'm also trying to get things done as quickly as I possibly can. Put these back on, and then I'm going to find a place to set this where the claws won't fall off. Usually, some kind of chair will work pretty good. Find another area. Maybe on my couch. Maybe. No, I think I might have to just settle for the floor. Right. There we go. Cool. Okay, so coming here on the bass drum, all that stick dust is going to collect right at the bottom, right by where your foot is at. That's where all the stick dust is falling down in. So I'm going to go ahead and just get that real quick as well. Using a microfiber cloth, it's really good at kind of just vacuuming up anything it comes across, which is awesome. Extra down here. Bass drum's not too bad because we don't hit it with a stick, so there's not too much like wood buildup or anything like that. But I like to keep things clean, so I always like to be nice and thorough. Cool. Okay, so got that. Fixed. So, batter head on the bass drum. I remember last time I kind of talked about a nitpicky thing that's not like necessary, but I like to pay some attention to it. Is where the logo of the drum head is at. I always on the bass drum I like to line it up perfectly with the very top of the bass drum, so centered right in the top. It just looks aesthetically pleasing to me, so that's what I prefer. So I'm gonna put that right there, and then I'm gonna grab my hoop. Hopefully all my claws won't fall off. Big. Try to keep them on there because it is, once again, like I said, kind of tedious. I have to put them back on, but there's only so much you can do when they're not attached. Cool. So now I'm gonna lay that on there. And then usually on bass drums, I don't know if either of you noticed this already, but there's usually kind of a designated spot on the hoop for where the kick pedal is going to go. This hoop used to have like a little rubber pad right here. It fell off. I haven't gotten around to putting it back on. So maybe I'll do that soon, but I don't know. It's fine without it, in my opinion. So I usually put that kind of where it needs to go. Usually a rubber pad. That looks about good right there. And then I will immediately start getting all the tension rods kind of going. And just like the snare drum, just like the toms, just go like finger tight. Get it approximate. Nothing too crazy, as you'll see. So, quick preface, I guess that's super important to kind of throw out there. I'm sure no one else is trying to join. Cool. This is specifically how I tune my bass drum for like the music I play, which is all pop, R&B, rock, hip hop. Going to be a pretty low register tuning. You'll notice when if you ever sit down at like a you ever sit down at like a jazz drum set you'll notice all the drums are much smaller, and you'll notice they will all be tuned much higher. Specifically, also, the bass drum will be tuned almost to a pitch in a way. Pretty low pitch, but a pitch. Usually they're about 4-tom sized, so if that gives you any perspective, it's a pretty small bass drum. Sometimes they're 20 inches, which is a little bit bigger than most 4-toms. 18 or 20 inches. 18, actually.
That's a lot.
Common jazz bass drum size. Yeah, this is not going to be that sort of thing. This is not going to be like a pitch matching, pitch tuning kind of thing. Whenever I'm tuning bass drum, I'm almost always looking for tone and texture. There's no pitch at all because it's so low it doesn't even sound like a note anyways. It's like hitting the lowest key on a piano, like the low C. Just like almost doesn't even sound like a note at a certain point. That's kind of where we're going to be at with how big the drum is and how fundamentally low the note is. It doesn't even really sound like a note. So, it makes tuning it convenient. Because it ends up being a rather simple process. So I'm still getting all these on here. 10 lug drums, so takes a sec. Most bass drums are going to be either 8 or 10. A little bigger of a drum. This is my last one. Two more. You know, that little spinning thing I'm doing with my drum key? That's like a really fast way to just tighten it down super quick. Honestly, faster than using your fingers, now that I think about it. Cool. So, same thing as snare drum before. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take every single one of them, and I'm going to tighten until I feel the tension rod grab with the edge of the little bracket here. So as soon as metal starts touching metal, that's what I'm going to call like finger tight, or my starting point, if you will. So let's kind of go until I get to that. All right, grabbing. And I'm just going to do that on all of them. I think I'll knock this out too. I'll usually do, so it grabs, so up there, and then I'll go on the side we're hitting, I go really low. So I'll just go, not even a half, I'll go a quarter turn. Boom. 25%. Nothing crazy. I go really low. You still want to try to use a semi-star pattern. But it's a big drum, tuned loosely. You don't need to be too careful. If you feel anything like that. Until it grabs, right about. There it is. How do you get this one? And then just do that on all of them. It's all loose, tighten until it grabs on, and then go, oh wait. There we go, it's grabbing, and then quarter turn. Tighten up until it grabs, right about. There we go, it's grabbing. Quarter turn, oh wait. It's been kind of weird. There we go. And grabbing, quarter turn. And so it grabs, quarter turn. Didn't take that. Easier here. Quarter turn. Quarter turn. Grab, quarter turn. Cool. And then once I'm there, once I do my quarter turns, I'll go around, I'll check. I'll make sure none of them are loose. Some of them might have not gotten quite where I wanted them to go after I tighten the other ones. But that's it. That's all I do on the batter head. That's really it. Very loose, very low. That's just how I like it. You get a really nice like thick punch whenever you just have this batter head tuned very, 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 very low. I know some people that go as low as to have it just finger tighten. They won't even do the quarter turn. I like to do the quarter turn personally because of how much I play and how hard I hit. So if you just finger tighten the batter head, um, eventually those hits are gonna start to loosen up these pretty easily, and you get brackets like rattling around and stuff, which is annoying, and you never want to record that or hear that. So I try to do the lowest possible pitch that I can down here that keeps the brackets nice and snug. Yeah, very very. You can see how much. You can see with the reflection here. You can see how much that's giving right there. Very loose, looser than a floor tom, honestly. Cool. Any questions about that? No, pretty straightforward, pretty simple, hard to mess up, which is awesome. It's really easy to get a good bass drum sound, thankfully, in my opinion. Um, hard to mess it up, unless you're really trying. Okay. Cool. Okay, so this bass drum head, really quick, this is a Remo Power Stroke 4, E4 clear. I believe it's a 2-ply bass drum head, so there are 2 thin plies smashed together for this guy, so it's pretty thick. And then it's got this ring on the outside. Um, this helps kill some of the extra like overtones and ringing that I don't want. I want a very dead, fat, punchy bass drum sound. So I go for this head. It's a thick head. Got the ring on it. I've also got this this little patch here. This is called a Remo Phalam Slam. Essentially, what it is it's a little patch you put on the bass drum head, then it protects the bass drum head from getting dented because it's so loose. If you just throw a drum head on a drum and you smack it with a stick, the chances of putting a dent in it are very very high because the head's going to give a lot easier because it's much looser. Like especially if you do it with a bottom head, if you were to smack like a 1-ply like cheap drum head with a stick and it was loose, it would immediately dent it. So yeah, that's why I throw that on there. It also adds a nice punchy texture to the beater actually contacting the drum head. I prefer this texture to the actual texture of the drum head itself. So this is kind of the source of my sound right here, and then this is kind of the texture out here is what the drum head is controlling. So yeah, that's the batter head. Relatively straightforward. And then flip it over. Oh, heavy bass drum. I think I've already loosened up this side, which is good. I'm not going to take them off or anything. Resonant head side usually never gets any like stick dust buildup or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and just not take the hoop off. And I'm going to do the exact same thing over here. I'm going to go tighten my drum key until I feel it fight back, till it grabs. And then on the resonant head, like with all of the other drums, snare drum, toms, I always like to go a little bit or even a decent amount tighter on the resonant head of every drum. I just noticed that this always gets me the sound I want. Toms, snare drum, bass drum. Bass drum is no different for me personally. Um, so what I'll do over here is my starting point is I will usually do, instead of a quarter turn, I'll go half turn, maybe a little more. I found myself kind of going a little bit tighter. I'll kind of explain that in a little bit here. Uh, in fact, right now maybe. So with the toms, snare drum too. I don't know if you remember, but I talked about that the batter head is kind of the initial note and texture that you hear, and the resonant head is kind of working with that, and the resonant head is kind of the residual ringing out of the drum. So the batter head is kind of the first pitch and texture you hear, and the resonant head kind of controls the back half, the back portion of the sound. And I mean, the bass drum is a drum, so it does work in a similar way. But kind of the way I like to think about it more with the bass drum, because of how big and dead I like to tune mine, is I think about the batter head as that initial texture, that initial impact. I wouldn't call it a pitch. There's not really too much of a pitch to it, at least that I can hear. It's very low. So I'll call it my initial texture, my initial sound, my initial frequency. And then the resonant head does control the resonance, as it is called, the resonant head. Controls the sound travels from here and then goes out here. This is where it rings out. But I also like to think about the resonant head on the bass drum as my kind of my airflow controller. So when you have a big drum like a bass drum, and any drum in particular, when you hit it, there is air moving around inside of the drum. There's air sitting inside the drum, and you hit it, and the air moves around. Same thing with a bass drum. There's more air because it's the biggest drum we've got. And kind of what happens when you hit the drum, the air goes like when you hit the drum, the air goes up against the resonant head, and then it bounces back against the batter head. So in a way, the resonant head kind of controls the bounce back you get from your bass drum beater smacking the batter head. And the advantage to knowing this is that if you're going to go for a really loose batter head tuning, you're not going to get a lot of bounce from that. So it's your bounce back is going to be pretty much determined by the spring tension on your pedal. So how tight you have the spring set, that's how much help you want. The tighter that spring, the more bounce back you're going to get. And then the tightness of the resonant head. The tighter this head is, the faster it will push air back against the batter head, and the better of a rebound you'll get. But you've got to be careful because I've found personally that if you go too tight on the resonant head of a bass drum, it starts to like kind of choke out the big, gushy, punchy sound that I want. And sometimes you'll kind of get this weird, like almost basketball sound that I've experienced. Very undesirable for me personally. So I'll go tighter, but I won't go too much tighter. And like I said, half turn, maybe a little more, which is kind of what I'm feeling and what I've been feeling recently. So back to it. I'm not going to go overboard, just half turn plus a little more love. Go until it snags, half turn, a little more love. Half turn, a little more love. Do that on all 10 of them. Half turn, a little more love. Ooh. Okay. Half turn, a little more love. I think I've already done this one. Some of these are going to be difficult. Notice this on a lot of bass drums. Some of them are kind of hard to really tell. Here we go. Half turn. The love. Half turn. The love. I got all of them. Yeah. I lost track as I was talking. Yeah. Then I'll just go around double check them. I'll maybe hit the drum key as well. Give them a little more, just because, you know, when I'm behind the kit, if one of these comes loose, I don't want to have to get up and mess with it. So I'll give it a little just to make sure it's secure, not anything significant. I'm not going to be redone here. Yeah. Nice. So, still, as you can see, very loose. See that? A lot of give there. A lot of give there. And yeah, that's kind of that's always kind of my starting point with the bass drum here. That's really mostly all I would ever do. Let me see how we're doing on time here. Excellent. Okay. Last couple of things. What do I put inside the bass drum? So this one came with really cool. I don't know if you can see it. I'll take this out. I have a couple things I'll put inside. Let me show you what's already in here. So this one kind of already has some pre foam. It's right there. The kind of zigzag stuff. You see it?
Yeah.
Right there. It's kind of just on the bottom. I think what that does is that just controls some of the reflections. Whether or not that had that in there, I would do everything I'm about to show you still. Kind of an added bonus for me. It's a nice drum set that came with it. Most will not have this stuff. So why are we putting stuff inside the bass drum? Personally, I don't want to hear a whole lot of ring when I hit my bass drum. I want it to sound like a rock, pop, R&B kick drum. I want it to be nice, short, and punchy. Short and to the point. Um, so a couple things I do is, first, I took a towel and I rolled it up and I just threw some tape on it, and it gets this, it's this kind of like long snake kind of thing. And then I will throw that in there. Actually, this will be a good camera angle right here. Let me flip this around so you can see. You can see inside the drum. So what I'll do is I will throw the towel in. You can see my hand there. The towel in. And then I'll throw it up against the batter head. I'll throw it up against the bottom so the towel is right here, right up against the batter head. And I'll make sure it's nice and secure because once again, I don't want to have to get up and adjust this sort of thing because I have to get up, walk around the front of the drum set. It's kind of annoying. So once again, it's going to be right here, hanging up against the batter head. This kind of helps just eliminate just a little bit more of the ring from this head in particular. And then I also have something I'll do. You could do the exact same thing for the resonant head as well. But I actually have a nifty little pillow that came with an old Evans drum head that I bought. And it's this little, I don't even know what kind of shape, hourglass shaped kind of. But I'll take this thing, and you could, I mean, you wouldn't even need this. You could just do another towel and do the exact same thing, and that would probably work out just great. What I'll do is I'll throw this inside. And then I will just lean it. If you can see here, I'll just lean it up against the front head right there. And that kind of helps kill any of my unwanted ringing, little overtones and ringing out from this head. So I've just got a little bit of cushion against both of the heads to kind of tame any like weird ringing or extra frequencies that I don't want. So lastly, I'll just double check, make sure everything looks good, make sure everything's in its place, and then test it out. So I've got my GW9000 pedal here. Super nice pedal. It gets more than just, it does more than just get the job done. It's a workhorse, indestructible, really quick. Quick pedal anatomy lesson. Kind of your options here for control are, whenever you're thinking about setting up your pedals, there are two things. There is the spring tension, and then there is the height of the beater, or where the beater is at. So I mean, this pedal has a couple more parameters you can adjust, but even on the most basic pedals, you can adjust spring tension and then where the beater is positioned at. So basically, the things that you're looking for with those is spring tension says, how much help do I want with it bouncing back after I hit it? You don't want too much because it's going to bounce around a little more than you want it to, and you're going to feel kind of like you don't have enough control. You also don't want it too loose because then you're going to have difficulty maybe getting in your doubles. You know what I mean? You're going to have trouble getting in your twos and your threes on your foot. So with the spring tension, I always advise finding some kind of decent middle ground into not too tight, not too loose. Kind of like with the back fingers on in your hand technique. Not too tight, not too loose on those back fingers. Firm, but not choking. Along with the spring tension, where the beater is at. So if the beater is too close to the drum head, what's going to happen is you're not going to get enough power. You're not going to get enough volume. Imagine playing constant ghost notes. You know what I mean? Imagine playing everything from a 1-inch stick height. You wouldn't get enough power even if you played super hard. But you don't want to go too far back on this because it's going to start hitting your leg. And that hurts. It's not good. So with this, once again, enough to get you the power you're looking for, but not so little that it's, I'm sorry, enough to get you the power you're looking for, but not so much that it's like hitting your leg and stuff, which it would if it was more like down here and stuff. Is that making sense?
Mhm.
Cool, dope. Those are your two basic parameters. This one has a couple more things you can adjust, but I won't go into that because I don't think either of you have this pedal, so that would be kind of useless. Last thing, let's hear how it sounds. Sounds amazing. Short, punchy, to the point. If I were to make any adjustments on this, I might tighten up the batter head just a little bit. Um, Kind of just depends on how I'm feeling. I'll get about the same amount of punchiness and the similar character of sound either way. But yeah, once again, this is what I'm personally looking for. This is very dead. Wires here. Very dead, to the point. You put a microphone on that, it's gonna sound incredible every single time. So, yep, that is it. Any questions?